Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Goldie and Arenado, are just stuck with the 2023 Cardinals. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everybody.
And this week on the show, we are going to chat about the upcoming trade deadline and how the Cardinals will handle it. We're going to check in on some recent roster moves and discuss the draft that just happened. We're going to talk a little bit about the outfield defense, make some bold predictions for the second half, and discuss the upcoming series against the Nationals and the series against the Marlins. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at TalkAboutBirds. Hambone. We've done it. We've made it to the halfway point of 2023. We're actually a little bit past halfway.
I'm always annoyed by that. They call it the halfway point, but it's really a little bit over that, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm annoyed by it too. Who do we talk to about this?
I guess, and if it wanted to be like the true halfway point, if you include the playoffs, like maybe it makes sense. Maybe, and that's what they're getting at, but nobody ever says it like that.
Well, we can be the change we want to see in the world.
We're halfway through the baseball calendar.
There you go.
At the whole calendar. And I'm comfortable saying that.
There we go.
But this is what I wanted to talk about today. There's nothing else going on.
Yeah. We punched up our way of framing where the All-Star break sits in baseball. Thank you to our listeners. Run with it. No, we got a fair amount of things to talk about. We had the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby to talk about. But before we do that, you've got a little trip coming up that we wanted to chat about. Can you? Why don't you tell us what you're doing?
I'm going to the Great White North, Nathan.
Wow.
I'm going to like Western Ontario. I fly out later this week to Minneapolis, and I'll drive my happy little ass from there all the way up to middle of nowhere, Ontario. And I'm going to be living on an island in a shack for 6 days in the middle of nowhere. I will have almost no access to the outside world or internet. So I won't be watching Cardinals baseball, which might be a nice little reprieve post All-Star break. But yeah, I'm going on I'm going fishing.
Nah, this is when they turn it all around, and you're gonna miss the beginning of the come up, the 24 game win streak.
Honestly,
that we're gonna need.
The Cardinals are in such a way that like just something needs to change, and if somehow butterfly effect me not watching a couple of series while I'm out of country, I wouldn't be the most surprised. Like, because just anything needs to change. I really do feel that when a team is going like this, I like changing. I don't know what
are you a superstitious watcher? Are you changing your shirt? Are you saying, oh, we won the series when I ate 4 pounds of chicken wings, so now every game I eat 4 pounds of chicken wings? Are you that kind of guy?
That's why I eat 4 pounds of chicken wings every game. It's for the team.
For the super, yeah. No, but are you,
No, I don't. Yeah. I you know me pretty well. I don't really believe in really anything like that. Any kind of.
I think it'd probably be easier for us to list what you do believe in fact.
Yeah, I know. I was so annoyed at the fireworks over 4th of July. I was like, Nate's going to ask me what I thought about it. I'm going to sound like the biggest grouch. But yeah, I just don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't believe in superstition. I do believe
superstition, holidays, getting together for fun. Nothing
I like that. No, I like that.
Mm.
Getting together for fun is good. We had a couple of lovely get-togethers recently, Nathan. I have a social life.
Yeah.
To degrees.
Something people with social lives often have to say.
Fair enough. but I'm very cool. People like me. I'm
Yeah.
invited to many
Same.
places,
Big
events,
same.
and outings. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
I'll show you the receipts after the show.
The last time you went fishing, I was there. And it went really, really well. Do you think you're
Oh
going to
yeah.
repeat the success that we had in the fishing tournament earlier this year?
Yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. And I think I'm going to take my previous streak into this week. And, I don't see any signs of me slowing down or cooling off whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
I
Going to
think
Bass
it's
Pro later tonight.
Oh, what a great time. I think it's probably fair to say that our fishing so far has mirrored the success of the 2023 St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
hopefully you can get a turnaround in Canada and maybe
Yeah.
get a little turnaround for the Cardinals. Although, not to be the pessimist, but one thing that's been a little bit in the back of my mind as we approach the trade deadline, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, like, we are getting to the point where the Cardinals winning games, while it's fun, is not necessarily the outcome that you want. When we talk about the 2024 draft, we've never had a high draft pick, and I am
Right.
kind of like intrigued by the idea of even having a high draft pick and the new lottery system and how you could end up being the first overall pick without necessarily having the worst record. And there's a couple really interesting players in the 2024 draft, but
Yeah. And, like 5 years ago, I probably would have said, nah, it would be nice, but, whatever. The draft is such a crapshoot. I do feel like in the relatively recent history of baseball, the draft has been, it should is so much more of a science than an art.
yeah,
Like I feel like the ones there's obviously always an exception, but the last 5 number ones have all turned out the last, like, just the higher end draft picks seem to be working out at a higher rate because of the information that we can glean from high schoolers and college players and stuff like that.
yeah,
Like I think Mickey Moniak is the only first rounder in the past, like, I mean, maybe decade that hasn't really panned out, and he's even hitting a little bit right now. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I
It's
mean, there'd be a ton of value in that. The Cardinals aren't going to do that though, and the reason that they're not going to do that is because of 3.3 million fans
yeah,
coming to the ballpark.
yeah,
So it's never going to be like that. Now they might trade their way into being quite irrelevant, while not fully giving up, but we'll see. I think if the Cardinals pick in the top 15, I think that would be a win. Too bad they weren't able to do it this year in this draft that had talent
yeah.
just falling all over the
All over
place.
the
But
place. Yeah. Although pretty happy with the first round pick. We'll get to that here in
yeah,
a little bit. It's funny you mentioned Mickey Moniak or Maniac or
I think it's Moniak.
Moniak. Uh, if you look at that first round from 2016, there's a couple guys that are starting to pop from it, but it actually is one of the worst like top tens that we've seen in a while.
Right.
It's Mickey Moniak, Nick Senzel, Ian Anderson, Riley Pint, Corey Ray are the top 5. All 5 of them have basically done well. 2 of those 5 I don't even feel like I've never even heard of past the
Right.
draft. And then you get AJ Puck, Braxton Garrett, Kyle Contrail, Matt Manning, and Zach Collins. Like,
Yeah, Matt Manning might still be a
he
guy. He
might
just threw a
still,
combined no
yeah,
hitter. He's got stuff.
yeah. Braxton Garrett is actually looking pretty good right now. We saw
He's with the
him,
Marlins, right? Yeah,
so there
he's
might
got
still
an
be
arm.
some
Yeah,
things that pop from there. But point being, like, I bet if we did look at 2020 or 2021 draft, there's a lot more recognizable names that are even starting to have a impact now. But anyway, we're going to talk about the draft here in a minute. I did want to touch on the home run derby and the All-Star game.
yeah.
What were your thoughts on it this year?
I mean, the Derby has just turned into such an event that I legitimately look forward to.
Yeah,
And the All-Star game has kind of gone the opposite way for me. But I
yeah,
love this. I love the format of the Derby. I love the timing of it. I think it's an absolute blast. I love that the players seem to love it, and the players that are
yeah,
participating legitimately want to win. I mean, when Pete Alonso gets knocked out in the first round of the home run derby, I'm like worried. I feel like we need to do a check-in on him. Like he takes it
yeah.
so seriously and he cares so much. I worry that
That doofus. Yeah,
I worry that he's not going to be okay when he gets bounced out like that. And then you seeing Vladdy win was a blast. Julio Rodriguez's performance was really fun.
that was
I thought
yeah,
the 3 Cuban players, enjoying being around each other. And obviously, Randy Arozarena and Adolis Garcia having their little friendship was fantastic. But then also, like, they're showing Nolan Arenado, they're showing Shohei Ohtani, they're showing all these other superstars who are sitting like cross-legged on the grass, craning their heads at every home run, and everyone's
Yeah.
into it. I think it was a Rosarena was kind of carrying around his very cute daughter in
Yes.
between rounds, and did an interview with her. And I mean, it's a great event. I think there's legitimate competitive fire and athleticism, while at the same time, Randy Arozarena is going and getting his cowboy boots and setting them outside the batter's box, and all this
Yeah.
personality is happening, and it's great. I think it's a great showcase for the sport.
Yeah, agree 100%. I had a great time watching it. I thought it was pretty wild that somehow Vladdy winning it was like the fourth most exciting thing, or like the fourth most exciting storyline. It felt like the broadcast had kind of even moved on from the excitement of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and was all about Randy Arozarena and like his vibe.
He,
But he stole
I,
the show besides just his actual performance on the field, which was great. He almost won the whole thing. And
and
then just the personality.
I wonder, like, his personality essentially came out as soon as he was traded. I don't think the Cardinals were like tamping it down or anything like that. I think it was really just because he couldn't play. But
He never got
ever
a
since,
shot to play.
right,
Yeah.
ever since he made that initial run in the postseason, and then his performance in the WBC, and anytime you see him on a big stage, he's just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing everything. He's got like the right level of cockiness and silliness to not come off as like a jerk, but still being like, I'm the man. Let's have fun. Watch
Yeah,
how far
because
I can hit this
he went up
ball.
and bowed to Vladdy after he lost, or I don't know if that
Yeah.
was a bow or like it's like a submission, but like
Yeah.
it was funny and it was endearing because you're immediately like, oh, he gets it. He
Yeah.
was clearly wanted to win, but when he didn't, he was immediately like, nice job, Vlad.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really awesome. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it could be when he was with the Cardinals, besides not getting a chance to play that much, there's that like confidence boost to really be yourself. And then after that run with the Rays where he was like the best player in baseball for that period of time, like that's certainly a confidence booster. And then that
Yeah.
can drive the personality side of it. Um, I watched the home run derby. I had my two kids who are basically 6 and 3, and they like baseball, but it's really hard to get them to like watch a game for more than a few minutes. And the beginning of the home run derby, like it was a little bit of a test. Like they weren't particularly into it, but once it got going, and the kids on the field actually helped, and particularly my 6-year-old, just like she watched the whole thing, and it
Oh,
was
wow. Yeah.
it was one of the better like interactions with baseball that I've seen her have. And she's playing now and into it, but like it's hard to watch a game. But the home run derby she enjoyed. And so it's like
Well,
when we talk about this as an ambassador for baseball, it's there was at least anecdotally, but some like direct proof right there.
yeah. And I think like I've made fun of the home run derby X a few times on this show. And I think it's a fine idea. But really, if you could transport the
Yeah.
actual home run derby style event to other places, I think it would do a lot better. And I think, I've been lucky enough to go to the one that happened at Coors Field. And as a live event, I mean, Mary has said it multiple times. It's the best live sporting event that she's ever been to.
Yeah.
And she's definitely a casual baseball fan. I think it's great. I think does ESPN know how to cover it properly on television? Do they do a great job of
Yeah.
that? That's a whole other conversation. I would love to see somebody else get a chance at broadcasting it, just because they they do the ESPN thing. They lose the thread all the time. But
Yeah.
I think it's a great event.
I do have, so like a couple thoughts on that. One, it's really hard to broadcast these things just from a visual standpoint, but the rate, especially Randy Arozarena,
Oh my God. Yeah.
it got impossible to actually track what was going on or not. The counters were behind.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea how many home runs he had. It didn't seem like anyone really knew how many home runs anyone had until it was all said and done. I know or at least I understand there technically is a rule that they have to wait until the ball has landed to pitch another one,
Yeah.
which
That's
was not
not being
happening.
enforced. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it was the rapid fire nature of it was kind of hilarious and awesome, but it probably would be better if they would find a way to really enforce that rule, which leads me to my second point. I don't think they would do this, but I think an improvement in this event would be to move to some sort of pitching machine. And that might feel weird at first because I do like the narratives of like Rosarena and his dad,
Yeah. I think
or
the whole, there's some gamesmanship and storyline. Like, I like
yeah,
that aspect.
yeah, I do too. But maybe it was just last night, and maybe it's just the broadcast. Maybe just fix this from the broadcast standpoint. But like, it felt like the more of the broadcast discussion was about the soft tossing old dudes mechanics and whether they were
Yes.
able to get the ball where the player wanted it than it was about the execution of hitting home runs. I mean,
This
it
is
was
what I'm
the
talking about when
yeah,
ESPN just misses the mark sometimes. Like,
yeah,
why? Like, it is interesting to talk about the fact that Adley Rutschman's dad is
yeah,
throwing to him, and oh, look, he's going switch hitter now. He's going to go hit some balls right-handed.
which
It
was
is
awesome.
not interesting to talk about, oh, look at how this 60-year-old man is clipping the top of the zone. Like,
Yeah,
the players pick their guys, they pick them for a reason. And I think part of the interesting thing is like Adley Rutschman's dad has never thrown a pitch in front of 45,000 people. Let's see how he reacts.
yeah.
And guess what? If he doesn't react well, that's okay too. Let's have fun with it. Because I could only imagine how I would perform in a similar situation. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess
like
an earlier fix than going full pitching machine would be to just say, "Hey, broadcast team, just like in the playoffs, they give them guidance not to talk about missed called balls and strikes because they don't want that to be the focus of the game during during high drama games." I would say, "Hey guys, stop talking about this old dude's mechanics and whether the player's getting the ball where they want it." Like, but there is also a reality to it. Like Pete Alonso, like they got like the ball was off the plate like half the time. So it kind of felt like he wasn't
well,
even getting a real shot at winning because his pitcher was doing so bad. And so it's like, I'd rather just see them all execute perfectly and just whoever sucks the most dingers wins and not who also had the best old man throwing him a batting practice.
yeah, and I think there's a relevant story in there, right? The guy that he actually wanted to do it got sick and couldn't do it, so
Yeah.
they had to tag a guy they never even got a chance to practice. That's
Which
relevant to
sucks.
talk about, but then you don't
Yeah.
have to drill in and be like, "This guy's really shit in the bed." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But it
this
also
is
sucks.
about
I want to see him sock dingers. You know,
sure,
get the best possible situation for them to hit home runs, and then just let them hit home runs.
sure,
Because I mean, we'd probably get in like the 40s and 50s on like every round if it was like a perfectly placed ball every
oh
single
yeah,
time. Like it'd be insane. You know?
yeah. I get it, but I don't think the problem is we have too few homers. Like again, Julio
Hey,
Rodriguez somehow, I don't even know how the time would
it's
allow him to hit 41 bombs in
yeah,
3 minutes or 3:30 or whatever it was,
yeah.
but
It was wild.
completely
Yeah.
insane.
One last thing on Mookie Betts basically just getting up there being like, "Hey, I didn't really want to do this, but I'm here. I'm not even going to call my timeout." They asked him after the fact why he didn't call his timeout, and he said it wouldn't have helped,
Yeah.
which is funny. I love
Yeah.
Mookie Betts. It's like, yeah, he's, he didn't
I
stand a chance against these like
no.
monsters even though he's one of the better home run hitters in the league, it's a totally different thing
Right.
than the home
Yeah,
run derby.
I'm larger than him. Which and I do think it comes down to the Beef Boys are going to
Yeah.
prevail in the home run derby. That's just the way that it is. Like when you're seeing a guy built like Julio Rodriguez get tired, you know that it is an exhausting
It's
event.
exhausting. Yeah. I
And
would love to
outside of
see
that point,
teams. Yeah, I would love to see teams do like their own like intramural home run derby, just like sprinkle it into the middle of the season somehow, or
Oh
end of
yeah.
season or something like that. Like take the format and do it at Busch with, the lineup and just see how it goes. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Edmund's going to get smoked, but whatever. It'll still be
I
fun.
think I think that'd be a blast. I would absolutely show up early for that. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I was going to say was to the Mookie Betts point and kind of his little post game or post derby interview and his in game interview in the All-Star game and everything like that. I just love that he is embracing his superstar status finally.
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of letting his personality and being the face of baseball a little bit more. And I couldn't agree with you more. I love Mookie Betts, one of my favorite players in baseball. Everything about him, the way he plays, just everything. Yeah, he's the best. So more
Yeah.
Mookie is good, even if it's him getting trounced in the Derby.
Yeah. I didn't watch the full All-Star game. I kind of feel the same way. For whatever reason, it's just kind of boring. It's
Yeah,
weird to say that, where it's like it is the best of the best, and I don't really have a good solution for it either. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk about it out there, and I like that it exists. And we say we want the game to matter, but when it did matter, we're like, no, not like that though. So I don't know
yeah.
what the solution is, but it's a cool honor thing for the players. It does mean a lot. Did you see that Arenado? Apparently, they have a like an internal thing around best dressed. Did you see that going
Oh
around where he was
no,
a
I did not.
finalist for best dressed? He was looking great. He had this like
Yeah,
full. His dad is Cuban, and he was going with the like Cuban I think of Scarface when they're down at that resort and they're all wearing
sure.
those like white suits and
Leisure suit type vibe. Yeah,
and hat, yeah, and big sunglasses.
yeah.
He
Cabana
was,
wear, one might call
yeah,
it.
cabana wear. Yeah, he was decked out in that,
Yeah.
and someone was interviewing him and showing him his earlier All-Star games, and he was coming in like jeans and a t-shirt.
Good for him.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Now
mean, he's almost a half billionaire. He can,
do whatever the hell he wants.
he can wear a nice suit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my solution would be there needs to be some level of stakes to the All-Star game. Maybe $1 million goes to the charity of the winning team's choice or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're really going to fix it until you make the agreement that you're going to play the best players for 9 innings and treat it like a real game. I think you can still swap the pitchers out like after 2 or 3 innings or something like that. But if everyone's like Mike Trout needs to be playing center field the entire time.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani needs to be DHing the entire time.
Your
Nolan
boy
Arenado,
Elias Diaz needs to be the starting catcher.
tell you what, he's had a great year. That is Mary's favorite Rocky player since some of the other favorites have left. We had a really fun interaction. We were sitting by his wife and daughter a couple of years ago in the stands, and we just kind of fell in love with their family.
What
I think it was
what a moment. What a moment last night.
I think it was the most like Mary and I were getting cocktails last night and I told her that happened and she was, I think, legitimately excited for a baseball update in the middle of
nice.
our date, but very happy for him. He's great human. He's a fine baseball player on a hot streak. So that's like the coolest thing to happen. I think he was probably one of the lowest paid guys in both locker rooms. And for him to have a moment like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's your cocktail of choice?
Man, I'll tell you what, we were at this really fancy place last night that has all these complicated cocktails I couldn't begin to explain. But the thing I was drinking last night had it was a cilantro infused gin. And it's kind of like a spicy margarita but with cilantro infused gin. It was fantastic.
That sounds great. I am a huge cilantro fan. Cilantro might be my favorite herb. So a cilantro infused gin margarita sounds fantastic.
Oh, it was so good.
Let's talk about the Cardinals. So I think we've moved past speculation. John Mozeliak has all but confirmed the Cardinals are indeed selling. Now, we've made the point, many people have made the point, there's a big difference between selling and rebuilding. Mozeliak has been unwilling to really lay down what the broader plans are, which of course that's part of the whole deal is keeping that stuff close to your chest. But he said on a recent interview, I listened to it on the Kilcoin Conversation, which is a podcast with Martin Kilcoin. He interviewed John Mozeliak, and Martin Kilcoin made the comparison to when Doug Armstrong for the St. Louis Blues came out and said, like, we are rebuilding, we are going to trade O'Reilly, we're going to, he was very, very upfront and very clear about their intentions. He asked Mozeliak if he would do the same, and Mozeliak returned saying, we are going to trade people.
Yeah.
But who it is it, will it be a household name or will it be something else? I'm unable to say right now. And he probably truly can't say right now. It's still, I'm sure these trade conversations are already happening, but just the way the league works, the way the system works, most of these deals won't happen until the week leading up to the trade deadline, if not like hours or minutes before the trade deadline, which is August 1st. But again, the Cardinals have essentially confirmed that they're selling. He also said that they think the players are more valuable than the pick that they would get from a qualifying offer. So it really implied that they are going to be looking to move their free agents, their upcoming free agents. He said, we're not going to give players away, of course. But it really was about as clear as John Mozeliak will be when saying like we're selling people. So I think when it comes to qualifying offer, I do think I think Flaherty's track record, even though it hasn't been great for the last couple of years, but his ceiling and his last few starts have probably given him enough to say like, yeah, he's probably worth more than a qualifying offer. I think Jordan Hicks would absolutely turn down a qualifying offer. I wonder about Paul DeJong. I think if you offered Paul DeJong $19 million on a 1-year deal, he's grabbing that in a heartbeat.
There's no way you offer him that deal. There's no way.
So I bet that I'm sure they're going to try to move him as well and get something from it. I don't know what you get for Stratton. Maybe you can package him with Jordan Hicks or with Montgomery.
That makes sense.
Like how we got him in the first place with being thrown into the Quintana deal. But it's an interesting time as a Cardinal fan. We have not really gone through this, not in a long time, not in the Mozeliak and not in the Mozeliak regime. We have not seen the Cardinals as sellers, like full on sellers. So obviously we don't like to be here. No one wanted this, but from a purely like intriguing baseball fan situation, like this can be a lot of fun. We've seen some teams pull off some really cool things and really improve their team in the future with these sorts of moments. And so, I've been talking for a minute. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if pretty much everything is on the table right now. If the Yankees call you up and they offer you a package that will allow you to almost reset your farm system to a certain degree, Nolan Arenado is going to move out. Yankees and Phillies really need third base help. They're two teams that can take on the money easily. And I think that's something that Cardinal fans should be prepared for. I don't think that Arenado will get traded. I don't think the Cardinals want to trade him, but he is the type of player on the type of deal, and the Cardinals have an obvious solution at third base in Nolan Gorman to take over immediately, that if a team calls and makes a crazy offer, he's probably gone. I think Goldie's even
Jordan
less
Walker,
likely.
Jordan Walker, by the way, at third. Jordan Walker at third. Now, we haven't seen him
Jordan
do
Walker.
That. Yeah.
Could be Gorman. Having Gorman and Walker in on the infield would be pretty exciting. And then Mason Wynn coming up and playing short. I mean, that's a really exciting potential infield mix there. All that being said, I don't think Arenado is going to be traded, but I do think that it is a possibility. And then when you talk about the guys with the potential for qualifying offers, I agree. All of those guys make sense to move. And I fully agree with Moselak's evaluation that their potential pick for leaving is not going to outvalue their in-season trade value that I think is coming up, because there are so many teams that could benefit from pitching. And I mean, go right back to the Phillies. I think the Phillies are a really good partner to trade with the Cardinals as far as what we would get from them. I do wonder if you make a competitive enough package, if you can pry Andrew Painter out of the Phillies' hands.
Man, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. That is the type of guy that no one is trading. But
I know
yeah,
he's injured. Jordan
yeah,
Montgomery, another young player. I mean, there's a package that exists that gets you Andrew Painter.
yeah.
Um,
The one
Now,
I've seen that is more, I think, more likely is Mick Abel, who is
yeah,
not nearly like Andrew Painter's ceiling is like the best pitcher in baseball, you know? So Mick Abel has had health issues. He's had all a number of things, but
yeah.
he is considered to have a really high ceiling as well. But there's just enough in there that you could see a team moving him. Um,
Uh, yeah, and I think that would be great too, because I think if I was reading about him the other day, and the guy's fastball is like fairly legendary,
he
and
should, yeah, he should be really good there, but there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, and he
right,
fits right into that mold of like he could end up in the bullpen or not even in the league if some of
yeah.
his tendencies continue.
I also think so. I think those potential qualifying offer guys, the pitchers make a lot of sense. Jordan Hicks is as slam dunky as it gets to me of going and getting something, and any team in baseball that's competitive this year slots him at the back of the bullpen,
Yeah,
and immediately you're upgraded. But I am hopeful that the Cardinals will diversify their talent, and I think that I'm going to say Paul DeYoung, Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, Juan Yepez, Lucan Baker. Those names, I think, should all be heavily considered to go
yes,
acquire yourself starting pitching talent, whether it be young or proven in the MLB or whatever it might be. Those names to me have to be moved for pitching. Either I would love to do it at the trading deadline, because I think you can find teams who are maybe a little more desperate. Sometimes you can get a little bit more, but a team that is pitching rich, that needs some offense, making a package like that where you get control for control, I think has to be a priority for the Cardinals.
yeah. I think Brendan Donovan is your real chip in there. I'd hate to see it happen, but it does make sense. He's currently almost at 2 F4, putting him on pace for back to back near 4 F4 seasons in his first 2 years in the league. And so like that's incredibly valuable. And that's the sort of stuff you have to trade in order to get good other players. Like I've
The
seen a lot of
Cardinals
people.
the Cardinals problem is not the offense. You have to trade good offensive players to go
Exactly.
get pitching. You have
You
to
got to
do it.
trade talent. You got to trade talent to get talent. I
Right.
think that, and we've seen this a lot on Twitter, and everyone has their own opinions and whatnot. But like, um, yes, the Cardinals have pulled off two of the most lopsided trades in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
But that is not how it normally works.
Right.
You make a big trade and you expect to see those guys go and be really good for that team later, and you be sad about it because yeah, they could have been Cardinals, but you had to move talent to get talent. Now, obviously, some of these outcomes that we've been seeing, and it was boy was it showcased in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the outcome is that talent you trade matures into something even better than anyone expected it to be. But like you have to trade talent to get talent. And
Yeah.
so if we actually think we're going to go and get like a Logan Gilbert or a Brian Wu or guys of that level, like put yourself in the Cardinal shoes. If we had Logan Gilbert on our team, what would we want for to trade him? You'd want everything from that team's farm system, right? So we have to expect some of these if the Cardinals are truly going to do what it sounds like they're going to try and do, which is use this trade deadline and possibly the offseason to remake the roster to some degree, not a rebuild, but like a retooling, we're going to lose some names that we are all big fans of or have seen, have like, everyone loves prospects, right? So I think you and I have both talked about Alec Burleson and what Alec Burleson could be at the major league level. And he might go do that, but it might be with the Mariners or it might be with the Phillies or something like that.
Well, and I think to your point, though, like the Cardinals are in a good spot because Brendan Donovan has a major league track record.
Dylan
That's
what makes him valuable.
Like
that's why you can trade those guys.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's why Luken Baker's on the big league club right now too, to kind of show off his wares, on the highest level. But yeah, another point I want to make about this is that I do believe that a Cardinals offense that is centered around obviously Goldie and Arenado, Wilson, Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, and Lars Nootbaar, and then fill in the rest.
That should be enough.
That's still a very good offense. You don't need 12 guys contributing. And I actually think that there might even be a benefit to just sending Lars out to center every single day, sending whatever you're left out, having Gorman be at second base almost every day. Same for all the other guys I just mentioned. I think a little stability. And again, it really comes down to diversifying talent. But I think I feel like that's lost in it a little bit, is like, this is still an offensive club that can go in and beat people up. You just can't outscore somebody 8-9 every single night.
Even at least to my eyes, Jordan Walker seems to be, making that next step. He still, his launch angle could still have some improvement. His ground ball rate could still have some improvement, but he's 21 years old and he's kind of crushing the ball at the major league level. Like, even just an aging Goldie, Arenado, and Walker can be a core of a solid team. And also, we see the Cardinals consistently able to produce average to slightly above average offensive players. That's not the Cardinals' problem. For everyone that we trade in this deadline, there'll be 8 more dudes that are going to fill exactly this sort of profile coming up right after. They just drafted so many college level outfielders. We'll be fine.
I think that is such a great point to make. Look at what the way that the Guardians handle their business. What do? They can develop starting pitching better than pretty much every other team in the league. What do? They trade that starting pitching when the time is right, and then they go get a Andres Jimenez, an Ahmed Rosario, whoever to fill in their other gaps. Josh Naylor years ago at this point. But the Cardinals have shown that they have a proven ability to grow position players. Great. Now go trade those guys for the thing that you can't build internally.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you look up, Tink Hence pops. You get a couple of guys supplementing that rotation and you have a well-balanced team. You don't fight the water. If the water's going this way, lean into it and just use it to your advantage. I do think, sorry.
To be fair, that is what the Cardinals were trying to do when they traded Randy Arozarena for Matt Liberatore. Matt Liberatore was a top 10 pitching prospect and kind of considered like untouchable by many people in the league. And the Cardinals went and got him. It cost them Randy Arozarena, but you got to trade talent to get talent. Now that, and also Liberatore was 2 years further away from the MLB than Arozarena too. So anyway,
I mean, that just makes me think like the Cardinals need to go get somebody who's have major league service time, so the Cardinals player development can't screw it up.
We need the Seattle guys is I think why a lot of people are looking at that direction too. Is like, all right, Seattle developed them. Yeah, we just need them on our team now. We cannot. We don't even. It can't even be where we need to put the finishing touches on them. They just need to be ready for the majors.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, the deadline is in less than 3 weeks, so this is all going to be resolved pretty quickly.
It's going to be crazy. I think this is going to be a very exciting 3 weeks. I'm excited for the first kind of ball to drop for the first. So I think the first trade that happens is going to signal a lot to us.
Yeah. Although no, it'll probably be like Chris Stratton for cash considerations or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay, not the first trade, but the second trade will be the big, defining moment. But yeah, I think Mozeliak has shown the willingness and the ability to do the big move. We just haven't seen it in this direction before.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I guess one little other thing to say, I'd be curious. The Dodgers need some position player help. They have a lot of starting pitching prospects. That's another path I'd like them to explore. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. DeYoung to the Dodgers has been a constant conversation.
I mean, at first it was kind of a joke, but now it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but you're not getting it. It'd have to be DeYoung plus to really get the level of player. But even like DeYoung for a single A or a double A, just to like start to build that farm. Although we were just joking that we don't really want the Cardinals to acquire young pitcher. So I don't know. All right, let's talk about the draft. I kind of mentioned it already, but this was a college and outfield heavy draft. We are not necessarily draft experts here. We're going to just touch on a few of the big names from the draft. But as this continues to develop and as we have more time to talk about it, I think we'll touch on more people from the draft. But it's an interesting approach this year. I think in previous years, we'd seen the Cardinals make actually a willingness to dip down into high school. And the famous 2020 draft was a ton of high school players. And it obviously so far seems to be working really well for the Cardinals. This year looks like they went for a more mature, developed player. But generally speaking, teams just go for who is the best player available. I don't think that necessarily the Cardinals went in saying we want more college players this year than years previously. I think you're going in and saying what's best available with what we have. And it happens to line up that way. Because I think, you can see a lot of people saying like, oh, the Cardinals need pitching. Why do we draft all these outfielders? But you still like the draft is still, even though, as you mentioned earlier, it is far more refined than it's ever been. You're often picking these guys for years down the road and you really don't know. So you're drafting off of talent and you're just hoping any of these guys pop and make it to the majors. And then you deal with your roster as it evolves. So the first pick, do you want to jump right in?
Pick number 21 to the St. Louis Cardinals, Chase Davis, outfielder from Arizona. Was that good?
It was
Did I do better than Manfred?
Low bar. But wait, hold on. Wait, do it again. You be Manfred.
It's like, I don't have a Manfred impression that I'm about to whip out here, but that was good
everyone,
enough.
It's me, Manfred.
Oh, God.
I don't know what I think that's what he sounds like to me.
He's like a little more Brooklyn nerd.
Hey, it's time to draft.
Oh, God. I think I'm offended by that for some reason.
I don't know,
Chase Davis.
Sniveling is the kind of approach. Chase Davis, a player that the Cardinals were linked to back in 2020. They almost drafted him out of high school, but because of the considerably limited draft in 2020, they had to go a different route. And now they got their guy. This is, I think, if you followed most reporting, this is who a lot of people thought the Cardinals were going to take. There were some questions on whether he would drop or not, and he did. So why don't you give us kind of a rundown on the quick scouting report? On Chase Davis.
So Baseball America is giving him an overall grade of 55, which is above average as far as how he'll develop into a major league player. His hit tool is a 50. His power tool is a nice 60. Run 55, field 55, and arm 70. So we're talking.
And remember, this is the 2080 grade, if you're not familiar.
Yeah, of course. So a couple of poppy skills, the arm, and it sounds like defense. There's a chance that he could stick in center field. He's quick. He's a left-handed hitter. And if you were paying attention to all the draft day, all of the comparisons went directly to Cargo, former Colorado Rocky All-Star. They are friends now, apparently, because of the comparisons. They're texting each other. They're buddies. The swing looks identical to Cargo to me. I saw it described as a buggy whip swing a handful of times. But the swing looks clean. He's a big, strong kid. I think it's hard not to be really excited about this. I think the only thing that you really worry about is probably a lot of strikeouts. But hyper athletic, obviously young, talented. I think it's easy to get really, really excited about this guy, especially with how the Cardinals have shown to develop left-handed hitters over the past 10 years or so. It seems like a great fit. And it also seems like somebody who will rise really, really quickly. Like we could see this guy in the big leagues late next year or early the year after that, because he's 21. He's polished. Yeah, I mean, everything you want in a first rounder, and it sounds like a lot of fun to me.
So a dynasty fantasy baseball writer that I really like, his name is Michael Halpern. I've mentioned it a couple times on this show. He was ranking the first year, this draft based off of strictly offense, which is all that matters for fantasy. And he put him as the 8th best player from this draft for like offensive potential output. I'll read a little bit of his blurb because I thought it was pretty interesting. Said selected 21st overall, Davis is a smooth operator who is a lefty power hitting beast. I can honestly watch him crush homers all day. The swing is reminiscent of George Valera, and it's led to 21 homers in 57 Pac-12 games this year. He's not a particularly huge guy at 6'1", but he's a muscled up 216 pounds, and the power is legit with high exit velocities. The swing is also very athletic, which should give him the potential to hit for average too. And he improved his hit tool this year, a 362 batting average with a 40-43 KBB after struggling with swing and miss in the past. So basically a guy who's shown the ability to improve, hit the ball hard for average, and has a good plate discipline as well. Like,
anytime I hear something like that, I hear the height and weight. I'm 6'2", about 215. And man, me and Chase Davis do not look alike at all. It's a different package there. So good for you, Chase Davis.
Yeah, he's in the more of the Tyler O'Neill school of muscle bound.
Not the podcaster body type.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where he slots in on the Cardinals' overall prospect ranking. I suspect that he will end up pretty high. I think he's immediately in the top 10, if not in the top 5. I think
I was thinking 3 or 4.
Yeah. Mason Wynn, Tink Hintz, and then you could put Chase Davis right there. Which again adds that depth when we say like trade all of Burleson, Yepes, Edman, all of them, because we still, we've just filled the minors with more tooled up young hitters, and we need those other guys to be swapped out for someone else. So it's a fun first round pick. When you're picking that low in the first round, you're never getting the sure things, the locks for, not that there really is such a thing, but like there's a pretty big difference between like even the top 10 and then the next 15. But as far as
this draft, even the top 5 was super, super special. Yeah.
We'll talk about the first overall later, but it is still, I think it's an exciting pick, and like you said, I think we'll see him in the majors. I think it's the pretty classic, probably September call up next year and playing for a big league spot in 2025.
Yeah, agreed. Pick number 2 for the Cardinals is pick number 90 overall. Great name, Travis Honeyman. Honeyman, couldn't love it more.
Is he a bear? Is he like?
He is.
You think he's a bear?
No. He is outfielder from Boston College. He's got overall future grade of 50, hit tool of 50, power 50, run 55, field 50, and arm 50. So that's average or above average at all. And the write-up that I was reading on Baseball America is essentially comparing him to Harrison Bader with if Bader's got a little more power over hit, Travis has got a little more hit over power. So this is a potential center fielder, good glove man, should develop into should stick at center field and have a high average bat. So another, I think, exciting pick. This is another guy that could probably move really, really fast. Maybe on the same timeline as Chase Davis, depending on what exactly you want from his bat. I also could see the Cardinals drafting a guy like this and asking him to add power to his game. But we'll see. Mike Antico and Victor Scott too are working their way up the minors fairly quickly. So maybe it's in that same line of thought.
Yeah, and I think like we were all big fans of Harrison Bader, but his sort of all out approach at the plate was also like so frustrating because it was always like, you're so good at defense. We just need you to do something consistently at the plate and you'll be one of the best players in baseball. So I think we all would have traded some of Harrison Bader's extreme loft on his swing and his all out plate approach for a little bit of batting average. I think we all would have taken with that speed on the base paths too. So I'm here for a better approach, Harrison Bader.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last pick we want to cover today, pick overall 122, third pick for the Cardinals, Quinn Matthews, pitcher out of Stanford, overall grade of 45. Tools or his fastball is a 50, slider a 50, curveball a 40, and changeup is a 60. This guy should stick around as a starting pitcher. But again, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. We'll see what happens with him.
Yeah.
And again, obviously another college player.
Hopefully a mid-back rotation kind of guy, which you don't dream on. But if this year has proven anything, like you need a lot of those. And so I think we'd all be pretty happy with another back into the rotation guy ready for the Cardinals as soon as possible.
Yeah. And we give the Cardinals a lot of trouble for their inability to develop pitching, but something that they have done is add velo to guys. Quinn Matthews is 6'5", 188. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts on a little more weight here over the next 12 months, adds a little more velo to the fastball. And that changeup gets even better and better. So, we'll see. He's obviously young and big, so you can dream on him a little bit. But yeah, we'll see.
Young and big.
Yep, that's how we like him.
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, we're gonna talk about the second half a little bit and try to make a few predictions for what the second half may bring. But before we do that, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on Patreon. If you've enjoyed the show, if maybe it's brought you a little bit of joy during a frustrating and disappointing season, consider supporting the show directly on Patreon. It's patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. The money goes to supporting and expanding the show, helping us cover the costs and improve the show where we can. So we appreciate all of our patrons that are there now, and we look forward to chatting with those of you who may join in the future. Patrons of any level get access to our private Discord server. It's the Bird Score. Tweet, baby. We're having a great time in there, talking about anything and everything. But at the end of the day, it's just a nice space to go to get away from the rapidly expanding amounts of social media sites. The people in there, good people. I really love the little community that we've been growing. So again, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Also, if you want to support the show, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. That also helps. Ben, where can people find us online elsewhere?
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds while Twitter still exists. We're on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We're on Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, find us over there. We got a TikTok. Check us out on TikTok. We love a TikTok. It's going over like gangbusters, Nate. We
love a TikTok.
Pokes. We got views.
We got little hearts. Little hearts are flying around.
Oh, yeah. Man.
We know how this stuff works.
On TikTok. You can email us any questions, thoughts, criticisms, jabs, threats to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And of course, you can find all of that information simply at talkaboutbirds.com. talkaboutbirds.com. Again, that is talkaboutbirds.com.
All right, before we go into the second half discussion, there was an interesting tweet on the Twitter that I wanted to talk about real quick. It came from at STS_baseball, and it is best defense at converting outs on balls hit in air to outfield. So what team has the best ability to turn balls hit into the outfield into outs? The worst team in baseball at turning
Who
balls
is it,
hit into
Nate?
the
Who is
outfield
it?
into outs. Well, Ben, it's your St. Louis Cardinals.
No, not mine.
You're the reason.
Damn it.
Yeah, rough thing to see. I think there's a number of reasons that we are there. I want to run the rest of the teams that are at the bottom five, though, because that's also interesting. Pirates, 26. Giants, 27. Rockies, 28. Marlins, 29. And then the Cardinals at 30th. So outside of the Marlins and the Giants, we're looking at some of the some rough teams down there at the bottom. So why are we the worst at making outs in the outfield? I think there's two primary reasons. One, our outfielders are not particularly good at playing outfield. We've had Jordan Walker
that's
out
one
there
with a bullet. Yeah.
We just have bad outfielders. So that is first and foremost. That's it, right? Between Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson or Juan Yepez, we're putting big dudes out there for their bats and just letting the rest fall where it may. Our better defensive players have been hurt or ineffective. Tommy Edman has been one of the better outfielders this year, and he is our second baseman.
Alec Burleson leads in appearances in left field. Lars Nootbaar leads in appearances in center field. Those guys are both playing. Burleson's not playing out of position. He's just not that good in the field, and Lars is playing out of position. Not to mention, like Lars is a good defender, but he's been hurt. Dylan Carlson is a good defender, but he's been hurt. Tyler O'Neill is a great defender, but he's been hurt.
Right. Jordan Walker, not a good defender in the outfield, but he's your superstar young guy. So, you should be able to have a guy like that out there and get by. But when the rest of your outfield is pretty bad, it leads to numbers like this. Then the second thing that I think, while not as significant as just having bad outfielders, we've had bad pitching that have been giving up hard hit balls. And the hardest thing to turn into outs in the outfield are hard hit balls. So bad combo. That you're getting balls rocketed out to the outfield, and then you've got guys who are not particularly good at catching those balls. And there we go. It's hard to frame it as anything other than worst outfield in baseball. Ultimately, outfield's primary objective is to catch balls that are hit into the outfield. Obviously, they have a bunch of other smaller responsibilities around fielding balls that they couldn't catch in the first place, things like that. But I'd say your first responsibility is to catch the ones that can be caught. And we're the worst at it. So not that we really need to point towards more reasons why this season has been bad. But I think, that is a really interesting one. And also, hopefully, arguably one of the more easy ones to improve with some roster shakeup and just some health. Tyler O'Neill coming back. Suddenly that, Tyler O'Neill in left and Carlson in center, overnight, we now have a good outfield again. Even with Walker in right field.
Then you're just finding ABs for Newt maybe in center field and really in all three positions, I guess. We know Walker's not going to be great. He's playing out of position. He's known this position for under a year at this point still. So you kind of have to take some of the good with some of the bad. And I also think that he'll get better. He's such an athlete. He's fast. He's got a great arm. He'll figure it out, but it's really hard to learn this. hit the big leagues. And I think he's doing a fine job.
Yeah. Yeah. So you made a point as we were kind of prepping for the show that something that really stands out too is that all of these other teams, or most of these other teams, are known for having gigantic outfields, which also makes it particularly difficult. But the Cardinals don't have. I mean, it's slightly bigger than, let's say, the average, but it is not necessarily a Coors Field, which is massive.
Right. Well,
I mean, there's a forest growing in the Rockies outfield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also,
It's so
the
big.
Pirates have a big outfield with weird angles.
Yeah.
The Giants have a big outfield with weird angles. The Rockies have the biggest outfield, and the Marlins have a big outfield. And then the Cardinals, which it's pretty much a cookie cutter shape. Yeah.
Yeah. We just have a bad offense or bad defense and bad pitching. That's why we're the worst.
Yay.
So I don't know. Just thought I wanted to talk through that. So Ben and I thought it might be fun to try to make a few predictions for what would happen in the second half. So let's just run through those. Ben, why don't we go? We'll go back and forth here.
Okay,
and we'll see what we came up with.
And I'll admit these have varying levels of boldness. So,
yeah,
email me at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com if you think I'm not being bold enough. All right. My first prediction, despite trading off key players, the Cardinals will have a record above 500 in the second half.
That is pretty bold. It's hard to imagine how we improve even to an above 500 team, but you know what? We're a positive podcast, and
wait. I want to be clear.
Too.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying that they're going to have above 500 record overall. I'm saying the record of this. Okay.
Yeah, I get you. The last 75 games or whatever, we will have an above 500 record.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Because getting to 500 seems like climbing Mount Everest right now.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, I hope so. That'd be cool. We've talked about how trading off half this team might actually improve the record, so we'll see. Here's my bold prediction. Even though I think he is a likely trade candidate, I'm gonna say that Dylan Carlson leads the team, leads the outfield in WAR in the second half.
Wow. Okay. Huge.
My thought is he, I don't know if you've been paying attention or noticed, but he's had a really strong plate approach over the last month. It's mostly being reflected in walks. But I think that leads to good things. And I think he's retaking the center field job. So his defense at center field and his plate approach are going to result in a higher WAR. I don't think there's a ton of competition for it. I think Walker's defense is going to hold him back. Walker will, I'm going to talk about Walker in a little bit, but Walker will out hit him. But I think Carlson playing center will lead to the most WAR. So,
all right. I like it. We like walks.
Mm-hmm.
My next prediction is Jordan Walker related. And I'm going to say that Jordan Walker hits 25 homers before the end of the season.
I love that. What's he at right now? 7 or 8? So he needs.
He's at 8 right now.
Okay, he needs 17 in the next 75 games or so.
Yep, I think he's going to go on a homer streak. I think he's going to find his stroke, especially with the hot weather coming up here. I think he's going to start launching them over the wall.
Tell you what, it is hot in St. Louis right now. It's getting real hot. So,
we had a day yesterday that was like 90, and I was like, ugh, no thanks. So luckily, it dipped back down to 75.
It's a dry heat.
Yeah.
Wow. I've been trying to go running. I'm doing this half marathon in a few months, and man, it sucks running in the heat. It's like, it sucks.
You suck.
Well, it sucks when you're starting at shit. So,
right.
All right. Well, I'll just go to my Walker one. I think if what you said happens, and this is a lock, I think Walker will get second in the Rookie of the Year voting.
All right.
I think at this point, it's kind of impossible for him. Not impossible, but is unrealistic for it to be anyone other than Corbin Carroll. He is in it. If it weren't for Ronald Acuna, Corbin Carroll would be an MVP. Like consider, he'd be considered for the MVP. But
I hope Corbin's shoulder's okay.
Yeah, but he's
little guy that swings like that worries me. I really, really hope he doesn't swing himself into injured territory.
Long run, for sure. That's part of why everyone's so hyped about Jordan Walker too. Is you can dude's huge and he's 21, and you're like, he's only going to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah,
but also Mookie Betts. So
right.
But yeah, I think so. Mine is Walker gets second in Rookie of Year voting.
All right. Love it. My next bold prediction, Mason Wynn takes over shortstop before the end of the season.
I hope so. Why at this point? Why not? Especially if they trade Paul DeJong. If I don't know if you've been following it, but Wynn has really turned a corner offensively over the last month and a half or so. He was struggling a little bit to start the year, and I think there was some concern that we were starting to look at an elite defender, but not necessarily going to be very successful at the high end at the plate, which is still a valuable player, but obviously we're all hoping for something different. But he's been looking really good at the dish down at AAA recently, so. Reviving some of that hope that he will be a superstar alongside Jordan Walker.
Can't wait for it.
Yeah. We should be clear, though, he doesn't project to be an offensive threat like Jordan Walker, but it's the superstar that is also an elite shortstop who can hit well. He's never going to be, or at least, he doesn't project to be a elite offensive threat.
We compared him to Rafael Furcal a while back on this show, and I still think that holds true, and I think that is great. You have plus arm, plus defender. He can pop a home run. He can steal bases. He's contributing everywhere.
Yeah. We'd be very fortunate if Mason Wynn becomes what Rafael Furcal was in his prime, or Furcal was effective into his 30s. It was only when he really started slowing down because of his age that he became not awesome. Furcal's forever going to be one of my favorite Cardinals of all time too.
Yeah.
That was he's the originator of Happy Flight.
Happy Flight.
Hit
some big hits.
All right.
It was fun.
Yeah. Okay. My next one. This is assuming some trades, but I'm riding the hype of the last start. Then Steven Matz is the best starter on the Cardinals in the second half.
Oh, yeah, he performed well.
He looked good. He's we've never really gotten the Matz that we all want, but he looked great in the bullpen. He looked good in his start. Flaherty's probably gone. Michaelis has been good, but has been kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Waino, who knows?
Yeah.
His competition is Michaelis, basically. Now the one thing is Michaelis will be a starter through the end of the year, no matter what. Matz could be bounced back to the bullpen with only a bad starter too. So we'll see. But I think he's going to be great, and he's going to be part of the reason why the Cardinals have that above 500 record in the second half, like you're calling. And we at least go into next year with Matz back in the rotation, and he's they still got a lot of holes in the rotation, but we can at least pencil Matz back into it with some hopeful confidence.
Yeah, after watching his last start, it seemed like he just forgot that his fastball can play competitively in the zone. And then he started doing it and got 9 strikeouts. I hope you're right. That would be great. He definitely has the ceiling to do it. It's the reason between the ears. Hope he figures it out. All right, this is my last bold prediction. And again, varying degrees of boldness. The Cardinals will trade for a young starting pitcher with health concerns.
Do you have Is this Scooble? This is Scooble.
I mean,
you
yeah,
just want Scooble.
I talked about Scooble so many times. I really want him. I think it makes a lot of sense. I also like Matt Manning, although I don't think they're going to trade Matt Manning.
Yeah.
I also will keep it in the Tigers. Eduardo Rodriguez would be really interesting. He's still got a handful of years left on his deal. In my opinion, the Tigers have absolutely no need for a strong number 2 right now. It doesn't make sense for their team composition. Cardinals could eat that cash. So all 3 of those guys I think would be great. There's a lot of other guys out there, but yeah, I mean, I watched that Scoobell start the other day and he's got 98 from the left side and a sweeping slider. I mean, I just want him.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, okay.
I'd buy that for a Alec Burleson and Brendan Donovan.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Do it.
How many years does he have left on his contract?
I can look that up.
He's probably just entering into arbitration.
Yeah,
or maybe in his second year of it. But okay, my last one, and I agree.
Scooble is a free agent in 27.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there'll be a lot of control. All right, my last one, again, varying degrees of bold. Liberator will end the season in the major league rotation.
Wow, so bold.
I know.
It's going to be a necessity.
Feels bold right now, doesn't it? After his last start. And, he did make it out of the first inning, and it was bad. Felt bad, man. But
it was.
I'm still a believer. He's only 23. He'll figure it out. And maybe it'll be out of necessity. Maybe it'll be to test for, next year. But I think he ends the season in the rotation.
Yeah. I would be shocked if you're not right.
Yeah. So we're writing these down. We'll check in on them at the end of the year. See how we did. If we get any of these right, these are all generally very positive things. So hopefully we get some of them correct.
I like being right.
Let's talk. Yeah, same. I'm never wrong, never take an L. We have a series coming up to talk about. We have 2 series, in fact. The Cardinals are again playing the Nationals. We've talked about them a lot recently. So it's at home, which is nice. Any new thoughts on the Nationals to discuss?
We know them. We just saw them. They're not good. They have some young talent. Josiah Gray was an all-star. Jaimir Candelario was an all-star.
He's one of the bigger trade chips on the market. We'll see. You said the Yankees need a third baseman. I think more likely than a blockbuster Arenado trade, we see Candelario is sold by the Nationals. It's kind of best case scenario for them, is they got this dude and he's popped off, and I think we'll get them a pretty good return.
Yeah. Carl Edwards Jr. will probably be traded. They don't really have much else, but maybe Dom Smith. No, probably not. He's not doing anything. But I mean, they're a pretty bad team. The Cardinals should beat them. And not much else to say. We just saw them.
Yep. And then the Marlins, who we also just saw and we've been talking about.
Please just leave us alone, Marlins. Go away.
Yeah.
Let us die in peace over here in the season of 2023.
Get away from us, Skip.
The Marlins have a 53-39 record this year. Their Pythagorean record, which again is relevant to their run differential, is 45-47. So
yeah, they're the inverse Cardinals.
Yeah. I guess the one thing I do want to talk about with them is that they have demoted Yuri Perez, which is bad for baseball. It seems like they're just trying to control his innings limits, keep him kind of cooking, probably in 1 inning relief spots until they get closer to the end of the season to use his arm for the playoff push. But I kind of hate it. I get it. I don't know.
I'm torn on it.
As a Cardinals fan, I shouldn't criticize how another team handles their pitching prospects. So they probably know what they're doing.
I'm torn on it, because like, yeah, you want your stars out there pitching. But if you do truly believe in the pitch, innings limit and controlling your young starters, and all for the hope of reducing future injuries, and like big picture, it's better for baseball. Yuri Perez missing a few starts in the middle of the summer of 2023 is better than him missing half of 2024,
Right.
So it's a bummer when it happens.
Right.
And if they're saving him for the playoffs, then it's good baseball. It's good for baseball because then we get to see Yuri Perez, in a postseason game, which would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, if the postseason starts tomorrow and you're the Marlins, your game one starter is Yuri Perez, right?
Probably. I mean, they've got, Braxton Garrett's looked really good. We talked about him earlier. They've got options, but you probably just throw the young guy out there and be like, big dog eat.
Oh my God.
Was
that you trying to be like a bro right there? What just happened?
I was trying. I don't know,
God.
man. I felt like I needed to say it and I couldn't commit even
Nerd.
the moment.
God. You suck.
That's how dogs sound.
You suck, and you've clearly never met a dog.
Yeah. I'm a friend to dogs. Dogs are my friends.
All right.
I love a dog. You know this.
Yeah, man.
All right, we'll see. Marlins Nationals. Here we go again.
Yeah, just don't beat us up too bad, Marlins. Don't embarrass us again.
Let's move into some league news. What do you got for us?
League news. Yeah, we already talked about it. Vladdy Jr. wins the Derby. Good for you. The Pirates' first overall selection, Paul Skeens. Too bad for us that we're going to have to watch Paul Skeens probably next year dominating. I think this is a guy that's going to, assuming health, is going to go to the top of the rotation right away. I would not be surprised if Paul Skeens is in their bullpen this year, depending on how aggressive the Pirates want to be with their position in the standings and everything like that. But this guy is cooked and ready to go. He is a absolute massive human. I think he's 6'6", 245. And I mean, you can read endless stories about just how unbelievably dominant he was throughout the season in college baseball, but he's a stud.
You see a lot of adjectives thrown around, a lot of comps and whatnot in draft day, but generational talent is one that I think people hold pretty close to the chest on when they're making comps, and I've seen that a number of times for Paul Skeens. So I guess we want that as fans of baseball. It sucks that
maybe not in the division though.
Maybe not. The Pirates will trade him to the Rays for, like a broken outfielder or something. So it'll be okay.
Yeah. The expansion committee will be formed after the Tampa Bay and Oakland situations are resolved.
Yeah, Manfred came out and said this. I think expansion has all but been confirmed a number of times, but at least to my money, this was the most like direct way it's been confirmed. The only thing that was interesting to me about it is that the way you framed it, which is the Oakland and Tampa Bay situations have to be resolved. Yeah. We're very aware, and we've been talking about it all year, of the Oakland situation. I hadn't really heard Manfred talk about, quote unquote, the Tampa Bay situation. We of course know what he means. They're like, unlike Oakland, even when the Rays are great, like their stadium is empty, you know? And like, I think a lot of us, if the Rays move out of Tampa Bay, I think you'd find far more support for that across fandom. No offense to the existing diehard Tampa Bay fans, but just that market has clearly shown an inability to like truly support a team. Like, we're talking World Series games that like don't sell out to local crowds. Like they've been one of the best teams in baseball for a decade, and their fan base still struggles. So
yeah, I'm critical of that. I don't think the Rays should leave the area. I think the problem is, first off, the team's it's not in Tampa. It's in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
It's a long drive through traffic to get to the stadium. They're kind of in the middle of nowhere as far as their stadium location. I think if I was the Rays or that team, I would want to build a stadium in Tampa proper that actually
Like
has a
downtown. Yeah.
population that cares. Yeah. And make it easier to go to. Not to mention, it's a terrible place to be. So I
Just
actually,
what, Florida?
well, Florida and that stadium, I mean, it's got to be the ugliest
Yeah.
stadium in baseball.
Yeah. That's
So
fair. That's fair. I don't want
I would
to.
much rather see the Rays stay in that area of Florida than leave entirely. I think that they could make it work, but just the location, the stadium, everything is just not working. So that's my 2 cents.
That's fair. You know what I think is probably the biggest thing, though? They should go back to being the Devil Rays. That was way cooler. Hail Satan, baby. Make it the Devil Rays.
Yeah,
That was
they do
way
the
more fun.
throwbacks every once in a while, which
Every
are
once in a
better than
while.
their current uniforms. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
If they just built, all they have to do, build a nice state-of-the-art stadium in their metropolitan area and change
Yeah.
their name back to the Devil Rays. And I think they're good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we could start talking about expansion, Montreal, Nashville, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's happening. I'm trying not to be like pessimistic about it. And obviously leagues expand. It doesn't have to be an inherently bad thing. But it does feel a little bit like, I feel like we're good with 30, but you know, most major sport leagues do have 32. Getting more baseball into more markets for more people to go to and enjoy. Like I like that. I get that. You know, two
Not to
divisions of
mention the
16.
expansion fee, Nate.
Yeah, well, of course, which we all as fans get and can enjoy.
Of course.
And surely that money won't go to you know, probably some sort of child labor somewhere. Man, in the home run derby, the MLB, ESPN, they're so bad. There's that moment where they're like, the broadcast, like, we've got Bo Bichette down here about to interview Randy Arozarena, and then they split the screen, and one half of the screen is a Geico ad where it's like, oh, my vines are really breaking into my house, and we're seeing and hearing that. And then in the other half of the screen, we can see Bo Bichette interviewing, I think it was Randy Arozarena, might have been Vladdy Guerrero, and we can't hear the interview. We can see that two of the youngest, most exciting stars in baseball are talking to each other. And then by the time the ad is done, it goes back to the game. I'm just like,
yeah,
you've got to be kidding me. Like, how stupid. Like, you have to know that that wasn't worth the ad break. You know what I mean? But
just
anyway,
not paying attention.
I'm spiraling. What else do we got?
Speaking of your Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Drew Rasmussen is going to undergo season-ending surgery. So that is too bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of surgery, Mike Trout has undergone hamate surgery, which is fairly low risk. He should be back in August at some point. We really hope so. But you know, a star among stars, not in the game, no fun.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson
surgery
Holiday.
Making you hungry?
Yes. I want to eat ham-made bones because it's close to ham.
Yes.
I've had it with you today.
You keep bringing them up.
I've had it with you today. Can we stop?
We're almost done. This episode's already long.
Jackson Holiday, superstar prospect for the Baltimore Orioles, has been promoted to Double-A. I wonder, Nathan, if the Orioles are going to move a Jordan Westberg, one of their middle infield prospects, probably not Gunnar Henderson because he is incredible. I wonder if they're going to follow the talent, if they're going to let the kid play at the big league level this year as they move some of those guys for pitching. I think I'll be very, very excited to watch. I think that's another person. I don't think the Orioles would do this. They've shown nothing about their history, their recent history, that they would make a move like this. But trading a Jordan Westburg to the Cardinals for a Jordan Montgomery would be a very interesting move. Jordan Montgomery is a pitcher that has experience in the AL East. It would obviously only be a rental. And I wonder if they would make that kind of play and then bring up a Jackson Holiday from Double-A to take over in short or second.
Man, it'd be
kind of
fun.
crazy.
Yeah, I certainly hope that the Cardinals can get a prospect at the level of Jordan Westburg from for Jordan Montgomery. But I don't. I need to be a bigger package than that, is what I would assume. And the Orioles have been. I mean, they've like flat out said, like, we're never going to actually go for it, So I'd be surprised if they would do something like that. But yeah, I mean, the rate at which they're moving up Holiday and the way in which he's handled himself at every level of baseball makes you think if he's not making the league this year, he's certainly competing for a spot at the beginning of next year. And he's only 19. But there have obviously been, you don't have to go that far back to find major league players at age 19. Wander Franco, right, for example.
And do they need Adam Frazier, Jorge Mateo, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westburg? There's
it's
Joey
not
Ortiz.
Unlike the Cardinals. Yeah, they're in a similar spot to the Cardinals, although they're high end. Some of these, they have a few more of these high end guys than the Cardinals have. At least they haven't been exposed enough for us to know whether they're high end or not. But yeah, they have a glut of infield prospects. Not that the Cardinals necessarily need that, but I would be happy with Jordan Westburg.
Yeah, he would fit in nicely somewhere. Anyways, the Cardinals need some churn. For the first time in AL East history, the Yankees and Red Sox entered the All-Star break as the two bottom in their division.
Yeah. Which they're both over 500 too. It's like such a skewed like perception. Like the Yankees are getting like hammered by their fan base for not, winning the division. But they're above 500. They're one of the better teams in the AL. It's just the AL East is insane. I mean, it is kind of a good argument for getting rid of divisions and just going back to the like AL, NL top 8, get in the playoffs and just move forward sort of thing. But yeah, it's pretty wild. I can't believe the Red Sox are playing as well.
I know. Aaron Judge is still their second best player by WAR, and he's been out for quite a while. And maybe again coming back in August. We'll see. Yeah. Yankees also have fired their hitting coach, and they bring in Sean Casey to be their interim hitting coach for the remainder of the year. I think interesting in the sense that Sean Casey is really more of a TV personality than a hitting coach. This is also the first time that the Yankees under Cashman have fired a coach mid-season. So striking, especially compared to what you're just talking about, how they're still good. They're just in a rough place in their division. And, it's all up in arms over there.
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, they're showing some urgency, which is good. Now, I don't firing your hitting coach,
scapegoat.
It's often, exactly. Yeah. Like a new hitting coach for 75, 80 games. Like, what is that truly going to do? But they're trying, they're doing something to show that they're trying to improve it.
To me, Sean Casey's just coming in as like a vibe check. Like, everybody chill out. I'm a cool guy. I'm friends with Booney. Let's all hang out and maybe relax a little bit. Because I'm guessing that clubhouse is a little tense right now.
But have some Bud Light Limes.
Oh, BLLs, baby. Let's go.
We didn't talk about it at the top of the show, but Mozeliak basically reaffirmed confidence in Marmol, and then Bill DeWitt reaffirmed confidence in John Mozeliak. So there's like none of that's going to happen on the Cardinals. So
no, they ain't going nowhere. Final piece of news: Victor Mesa, former Marlins prospect, has left the club. Apparently having a outburst in the clubhouse. drove away from the stadium and has not contacted the Marlins for about 4 days now. So there that is.
Remember when Yairo Munoz did that to the
Yeah.
Cardinals and then made it back to the majors on another team?
Yes. Yes, I do. Kind of
Wild.
crazy how this can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he's just Victor Mesa is just like still just driving to the Ranger Stadium or something where he's going to play for them now.
Yeah. Can I come hang out with you guys?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. That's all I got for league news this week.
All right. So because we are at the halfway point of the baseball season the full baseball schedule, whatever we said
There
at
we
the
go.
beginning
There we go.
this episode, I thought for our last segment this week, we would check in on some of the other bold predictions and segments that we had done earlier in the year. So at the beginning of the season, Ben, you and I made some predictions on the major awards for this season. I thought it'd be interesting to check in on those. And then we're going to do a second check in on our Heroes and Halflings Draft Day edition. So I'm just going to run down this and we'll kind of talk about it as we go. We're going to start with our major award predictions. Ben, you got a couple really good here, and then there's a couple in here that are not going to work out so well for you. But for AL MVP, you predicted Shohei Ohtani, which, I mean, I think he could retire today and still win the MVP this season. So that's pretty much a lock. And you did Ronald Acuna Jr. for the NL, which not as much of a lock as Shohei, but as close to a lock as you can get it at the All-Star break.
He's been amazing.
He'd basically have to get hurt and miss the rest of the season, I think, for him to not win it at this point.
Right.
He's on pace for, what is it, like a 40-70 season or something like that? Something that's never happened. Yeah.
Insane.
So I think you've nailed the AL and NL barring any insane changes. Here's where it gets a little more rough for you. AL Cy Young prediction. Alek Manoah.
Not great.
He looked good against the Tigers, so maybe he's back. Maybe he's back. But right now they're just hoping he ends the season in the rotation. So Cy Young probably out the door.
Yeah.
NL Cy Young, you did Aaron Nola, which, you know, he's having a fine season, but probably not Cy Young.
Not there, yeah, unfortunately.
AL Rookie of the Year, you have Grayson Rodriguez. Not happening right now.
No.
I don't know who you would say is the AL Rookie of the Year front runner. But
that's a good question. I'll think about that for a little bit.
For NL Rookie of the Year, you selected Jordan Walker, which we talked about Corbin Carroll earlier in the episode. So, I mean, it could still happen. Like you were saying, there's some shoulder concerns, and we think Walker's going to have a big second half, but Corbin Carroll's had a monster first half. So,
yeah, it would. I'd like to be clear. I don't want Corbin Carroll to have an injured shoulder.
No, of course.
This is the second time. It's not looking well. We'll see what happens. I hope he's okay. Yeah. Josh Young, by the way, probably the leader for AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he's crushing it. All right, you have some good picks in there. I don't think I have any good picks right now. So I also tried to not pick. You went first, and I tried to not pick you guys. You picked. I think
the excuses.
Wow. I think in our discussion, we both said like Ohtani is the front runner by a mile going into the season.
Sure.
You know? But I wanted to pick someone else. I picked Vlad Jr. So he won the Derby, so that's cool. But he's really not having the year that he wanted to have.
I'll tell you, I was looking at his Savant stats the other day. They're all through the roof. I wouldn't be surprised if he pops off.
Yeah. I mean, he's still incredible. And, most people would kill for even the season he's having right now, but it's not what, like
he's not the Messiah that we thought he might be. Yeah.
NL MVP, I selected Juan Soto. Having a great year, but there's just nothing. He's just not doing what Acuna is doing.
No one is.
I think he will end up in the top 5 if he continues at the pace he is right now, but he just can't compete with Acuna. AL Cy Young, McClanahan. He was having a great year. He is now hurt. So kind of some bad luck there. He's probably going to be hurt. He's missing probably a month at least. So, probably kills his chances, although people have won it with less. So we'll see.
Kevin
but
Gausman is having a great year, though. So
he is having a very good year. So it would take returning and having a really strong second half, but he could, and he's on the Rays, so he could get a lot of that, so I'm not giving up hope on that one yet. I think he still has a shot. NL Cy Young, I said Verlander, which is not going to happen.
Man.
So
rough year for Verlander.
Yeah. AL Rookie of the Year, I said Gunnar Henderson. He's been really coming on, but Young, I think, is a huge front runner. So we'll see. Second half.
Gunnar, he is that kind of guy because he has been hitting a lot better recently. He could just dominate the second half. I really like him.
And the Rangers are a great narrative too, so don't get me wrong. But like the Orioles, it'd be, if they make the playoffs, and he has a huge second half, you could see it.
Yeah.
And then because we're a Cardinal podcast, I also selected Jordan Walker for NL Rookie of the Year. And I still think it's going to happen there.
Yeah.
All right. Another game we played. We're just going to run down this too, and then we'll call the episode. We're getting pretty long here. But at the beginning of the season, we did a little draft. You could draft 3 people on the 26-man and then 3 people not on the 26-man. At the end of the season, whoever has the most accrued F-WAR wins. So I'm going to run down it. We'll start with me. My team was Nolan Arenado, Nolan Gorman, Dylan Carlson, Matt Liberatore, Gordon Graceffo, and Moises Gomez. Now at today, Nolan Arenado is at 2 F-WAR.
All right.
Nolan Gorman is at 1.2, which is a half a WAR less than he was when we last checked in on this.
Damn.
So he's had a rough, Dylan Carlson is at a half WAR, which he was at negative 0.1 last time we checked in on this. So he's had a good second half. And Matt Liberatore, or second quarter, Matt Liberatore 0.3. He was at 0.2 last time we checked in on this. So despite his struggles, he still accrued 0.1 F-WAR in the last 2 months or so. And giving me a total of 4.0. Ben, you have Paul Goldschmidt. He is at 2.6. He was at 2.1 last time we checked in, though. So his pace has slowed. You have Tyler O'Neill, who's at negative 0.3 and has been there for a while. Then you have Tommy Edman, who's at 1.2. He was at 1 the last time we checked in, so he's really slowed down as well. And then you have Mason Wynn, Guillermo Zuniga, and Jake Walsh, who are all at 0. So, Ben, you are at 3.5. So I have now taken a half a WAR lead over you.
All right.
So we'll see in this back half, some of these rookies, if they come up and start to make an impact, that might be the difference maker.
And I guess
have established.
I was just going to say,
if these people get traded, this happened last year with Johan Oviedo.
Yep.
If you get traded, they are still part of your WAR accrual.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Same page.
Yep. Yeah, because if you remember last year, I had Matt Liberatore and you had Johan Oviedo, and the last game of the year was Matt Liberatore against Johan Oviedo.
Yes. It was amazing.
And then we ended up in a tie. It was incredible.
Wow. Well, I think Tommy and Tyler are really going to help me out. And like I said, Mason Wynn's going to come up. Guillermo Zuniga might do something. Jake Walsh doesn't seem like he's going to come up this year unless something goes terribly wrong. So I guess we'll see.
What more could go wrong, Ben? All right, that'll do it. Thank you all for joining us for this week. Next week, we will be back, though it will be slightly different. Benny Boy is going to be off in his little hut or whatever he's doing in Canada. So, check the feed for something a little different next week. And hopefully the Cardinals have a good series against the Nationals and the Marlins. And thanks again for listening. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And until next week, go Cardinals.
Let's go, Cardinals.